So what's going on guys, Kate is here and welcome back to a brand new video. For today I will show you the top 3 best new solo player builds for PvP and PvE in New World. So for each and every single build I will explain what attributes, weapon masteries and even weapon and gear perks you want to have. Then what gems and specific gear you want to use to get out your stats as much damage as possible. Then as well I will show you the best gameplay of me using different weapons, so you would know which abilities you want to use first on your enemies and much more. So if this sounds interesting to you, then let's get right into it. So then moving over to the first build, which is the highest damage build in the game, and I like to call it as the ultimate sniper class. And for the weapons you want to go with the musket and void gauntlet, and then these are the attributes you want to have. So basically this build is structured around doing a lot of damage from very far distance, and you will not have almost any defensives whatsoever, but the single target damage that you will do will be very high. So first of all you want to get your dexterity to 300 and then start putting points in intelligence, and around level 60 you should have 300 dexterity and 150 intelligence. And as this is a full glass cannon build, you want to go with the light category, and the best gear setup is to have medium chest piece and then the rest light armor. So then taking a closer look at the first weapon, which is the musket, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all you want to unlock the first ability called the power shot and then get these 2 perks. Then afterwards unlock the second ability called the powder burn and then get these 2 perks as well. And lastly unlock the last third ability called the shooter stance and then get the next perk to him as well. And now let's move over to the other side and unlock these 2 perks, and that's it. Now from this point and onwards you're full free to choose to unlock all the other perks in whatever order you like. And now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the void gauntlet, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all you want to unlock these 3 perks and then the first ability called the petrifying scream and then get these 2 perks. Then now let's get the second ability called the oblivion and then get these 2 perks. Then from now let's move over to the other side and unlock the last third ability called the orb of decay and then get these 4 perks, and that's it. Now again from this moment you can unlock all the other perks in whatever order you want. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I will show you the best way to play this build. So first of all we have the musket, and the first Q spell is called the power shot, which when activating overloads your musket with gunpowder, causing the next shot to deal bunch of damage, and it's super good in removing someone's health to 60% just from one shot. Then the second ability is called the powder burn, and this ability again overloads your musket with gunpowder and deals damage, but additionally will make the target burn for 9 seconds. And lastly we have the third ability called the shooter stance, which when using your character enters a shooting stance and all shots fired deal additional damage, and the reloading time of the musket is reduced by 70%. So then now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the void gauntlet, and for our first Q spell we have the ability called the oblivion, which creates a circle around you and your teammates inside the circle will get 20% damage increase, but on the other hand your enemy standing in the circle will be taking void damage every second. Then the second ability is called the petrifying scream, which when using will deal damage, stagger and root enemies in front of you for 2 seconds. And lastly we have the third ability called the orb of decay, and you can fire this orb which can go through your enemies, and each enemy that it hits it will deal decent damage and reduce their damage absorption, and then later that orb will come back and heal your nearby teammates and yourself. And lastly, if you hold the left mouse button you can get your mana back, but it will remove your health. So for this specific build I definitely do not recommend to use this mechanic. So then what I usually try to do for this build is to alternate between normal musket shots and abilities. So the way you want to use this build is to always stay very far away from the enemy, no matter if you're doing PvP or even PvE. So as far as your playstyle goes, you mainly want to use musket normal attacks and activate its abilities if you see that you can easily hit the enemy. So then use the power shot or power burn, and when a bruiser player is charging at you then activate the shooter stance ability and burst him down. Then afterwards switch to the void gauntlet, and I prefer to use my oblivion spell to get 20% more damage, but you can use it to support your teammates as well. And then if you directly are getting attacked and need to protect yourself, then use both abilities that are petrifying scream and orb of decay. As well, like I've mentioned, I most of the time use my musket because it deals high damage, and then when I get attacked or want more damage I switch to the void gauntlet for extra support. and then I go back to the musket, and that's about it. So now for my last and final conclusions for this build. This musket and void gauntlet weapon combination right now after the nerf is the highest damage build in the game, and by using these weapons you basically become the sniper of the team, and you don't have any defensives, so your main goal is to always stay away from the enemy as far as you can, but then just aim and shoot and destroy all of your enemies. So then last but not the least, for your musket and void gauntlet you want to use the aquamarine gem, and then for all of your gear use the Enix gems. And to increase even more damage for special events like wars, or if you're rich enough, then buy honing stones and attribute food, which for around 30 minutes will give you more attribute points, and from 5 to 7% more damage on your weapon depending on what tier honing stone and food you're using. And then on top of all this, to go from 98% damage possibility to 100 or even more, on your void gauntlet and musket you want to have one or two of these perks, which is called the keen, and it gives 10% crit chance. Then the second perk is called the enchanted, and it gives 9% damage to your light or heavy attacks. And lastly we have the third perk called the vicious, and it increases 10% critical damage. So if your weapon has one or two of these perks, then you significantly increase your DPS. As a new player I would recommend to just copy this build's weapon masteries and equipment, and when you get to level 60 and you really want to max out your damage, then start buying your weapons with the best perks, start using honing stones and everything else I have said in this video. So in a quick summary, if you want to play a build that right now has the highest single target damage in the game, then this is the build for you, so enjoy! So then moving over to the second weapon, which is one of the strongest PvP setups in the current meta. And for the weapons we want to use the greatsword and bow, and these are the attributes you want to have. So first things first, if you start from level 0 you want to get your dexterity to 150. And then start building your constitution, and around level 60 you should have 300 dexterity and 150 constitution. And then lastly for your gear you want to go with the light category, which means using one medium chest piece and then the rest light equipment. So then taking a closer look at the first weapon, which is the greatsword, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all you want to unlock both these two abilities called the crosscut and relentless rush, and then get these 4 perks. Then now let's move over to the other side and unlock the last third ability called the calamity counter, and then get these 3 perks, and that's it. Now from this moment you can unlock all the other perks in whatever order you like. Okay, and now let's move over to the second weapon, which is the bow, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first things first, you want to unlock the first ability called the evade shot, and then get these 3 perks. Then now let's go over to the other side and unlock the last 2 abilities called the penetrating shot and explosive arrow, and then lastly get these 4 perks, and that's it. Now again from this point and onwards, you can spend your points in whatever way you want. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I'll show you the best way to play this build. And for the first weapon we have the greatsword, and your first Q ability is called the crosscut, which will perform 3 quick slash attacks, that with each attack will do more damage. Then the second skill is called the relentless rush, which will dash through your enemies while spinning and applying a 20% slow for the next 4 seconds. And then lastly we have the calamity counter, which will give you a block for 2 seconds, and depending on how many times the enemy continues to attack you, the more counter damage you will be able to do after the 2-second block expires. And then for the second weapon we have the bow, and your first Q spell is called the penetrating shot, which will shoot an arrow that can go through multiple enemies, dealing very high damage. Then the second skill is called the explosive shot, which will fire an arrow that will deal normal damage, but then on the enemy impact, the arrow will explode, dealing plus 130% more additional explosive damage to all targets in 2.5 meter range. And then lastly we have the evade shot, which after using will make our character leap back while using one last arrow, and this is great for dodging enemy attack while doing high damage. Okay, so then let's move over to the rotation. And first of all, you want to keep your distance between you and the enemy as much as possible, and from the range keep on using the normal bow light attacks. Then when the enemy gets closer and you know that you can land a decent shot, then now use the explosive arrow, then one light attack, and then right after use the penetrating shot. Then now switch to the greatsword and use the crosscut and relentless rush, depending on how close or how many enemies you are fighting. Then from this point the enemy will do damage to you. So now we want to counter him with the calamity counter, and then lastly we switch back to the bow and use the evade shot to leap back, and then we finish off the enemy from distance, and that's it. So now for my last and final conclusions for this build. This greatsword and bow weapon combination is the current highest damage PvP build in New World, and this build will not only give you very high damage, but as well you will be able to fight in melee to long range, and your speed is insane. so you can catch your enemies in PvP or to run around the monsters in PvE. And then last but not the least, for the greatsword and bow, you want to use the opal gem, and then for all of your gear, use the diamond gems. And then lastly, on your character, you want to equip the heart rune of detonate. And then on top of all this, to find out the best weapon and gear perks, watch this video, which is titled which weapon and gear perks are the best for your build. You can find the link in this video description or just scroll through my channel. And in that guide I will specifically explain how perks work and which ones are the best for your specific gear and weapons and much more. So in a quick summary, if you're looking for the most fun and one of the best DPS PvP builds, then this is the one for you, so enjoy! So then moving over to the third build, which is the life staff and hatchet. And these are the attributes you want to have. So first things first, if you start from level 0, you want to get your focus to 150 and then start building your constitution. And around level 60 you should have 300 focus and 150 constitution. And then last but not the least, for your gear you want to go with the medium category. And the best gear setup is to have heavy helmet, heavy chest armor, medium gloves, light pants and medium boots. So then moving over to the first weapon, which is the hatchet, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock the berserk ability with these two perks. Then afterwards unlock the second ability called the feral rush and then get these two perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability with these two perks, and that's it. Now again, from this point and onwards, you're free to choose in whichever order you want to spend your points. So then let's go over to the second weapon, which is the life staff, and these are the weapon masteries you want to have. So first of all, you want to unlock this one perk and then the first ability called the sacred ground, and then afterwards unlock all these three perks. Then now let's go over to the other side and unlock this one perk and then the second ability called the beacon and then get these two perks. Then lastly unlock the last third ability called the light's embrace and then get these two perks as well. And now from this point you're free to spend your points in whatever order you want. Okay, so now let's go over to the gameplay where I'll show you the best way to play this build. And as we already looked into the hatchet weapon, we will skip it and go straight for the second weapon, which is the life staff. And your Q ability is called the sacred ground, which you have to point and select the area you want to place it in and then cast it for a split second. Then the R ability is called the light's embrace, and it basically works the same way, just for a single target. And of course you can heal yourself by holding the control button and then activating the spell. And lastly we have the F ability called beacon, which you can just aim and it places another huge healing circle on the ground. So the way you want to attack an enemy is first of all from a distance use your life staff and auto attack the target. Then when you get closer to the enemy or he will get closer to you, then switch to the hatchet and activate your berserk mode. And then keep on using auto attacks plus the R and F abilities. And then whenever you get low health, switch back to the life staff and place the beacon on the ground, and then to heal yourself use the light's embrace ability. And don't forget to heal yourself, you just have to hold the control button and then activate the spell, and it's that simple. I usually prefer to use the beacon ability first and then right after spam the light's embrace spell. And when I really need more health I use the sacred ground. So for more damage and attacking you use auto attacks and hatchet, and to heal yourself switch back to the life staff, and that's it. So then for my last and final conclusions for this build, this hatchet and life staff weapon combination is meant to do a bunch of damage while at the same time having the ability to survive for very long, and right now it is the best build for PvE and especially for leveling. And then last but not the least, for the life staff you want to use the diamond gem. Then for your hatchet use the amber gem. And lastly, for all of your gear, amulets, rings and everything else, use the Enix gems. And if you're a new player or beginner and not familiar with how this game works, then basically the hatchet and life staff are two different weapons. One weapon is very good with strength attribute and the other one with focus. But as we mainly have a focus build, by using the amber gem we make the weapon switch from one attribute to another one. So now instead of the hatchet scaling with strength, it scales with focus. And by doing this we make this build do even more damage and just in general stronger. And then on top of all this, like I explained in the previous builds, to find out the best weapon and gear perks, watch this video which is titled which weapon and gear perks are the best for your build. You can find the link in this video's description or scroll through my channel, and in that video I will specifically explain how perks work and which ones are the best for your specific gear / weapons and much more. So in a quick summary, if you're looking for the best and easiest PvE solo player build which is easy to learn and play, then this is the build for you, so don't forget to have fun. And that's about it. So I really do appreciate everyone for watching guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any suggestions, feedback, or other good New World builds that you would like to see in the next video, then feel free to leave your comments in the comment section down below. And while you're doing that, please click like, subscribe, and enable that notification bell, so this way you could support the channel and you won't miss any more amazing content from me. With all this said, you have an amazing day and I will see you in my next video, so take it easy, peace.